Hi, everyone. Welcome to our event tonight. We're glad you were able to join us. We hope that you enjoyed that a little taste of Alaska in the video to kind of whet your appetite for what we're going to be going over tonight. My name is Denise Valente. I'm here with my husband, David, and we also have our special guest with us, Cindy Botello with Princess Cruises. So welcome to everyone here tonight. Just a little bit about my husband and I. We've been married for a little over 12 years, and we've been in the travel industry together for a little over 10 years. And throughout that time, we've traveled so much of the world together. We've seen a lot of beautiful places, done and experienced so many amazing things. And one of the highlights of our time together and of our travels was visiting Alaska. And it's something near and dear to our hearts, and it's something we wanted to share with our friends, our family, and our valued clients here tonight. And so it's just what we wanted to bring to you all tonight, and hope that you enjoy it. Hope that you get excited about visiting this beautiful destination. Back in 2013, David and I had the privilege of traveling to Alaska on a Princess cruise, and it was one of the highlights of our travels. So David, maybe you can just share a little bit about what some of those highlights were for us.
Yeah, as you can see in the images, we got ourselves involved with a lot of different things, experienced so much that Alaska has to offer. But I think one of the things that was most memorable for me, which is not in the images, was the whale watching. So we got on an excursion where a boat was chartered, and a big group of us went out to the natural habitat where all the whales are swimming and just spawning and just in their wild, native environment. And you can see the orcas just swimming with their babies or traveling in and out of the water, and you could see the sperm whales diving in and out. And one of the experiences that I never forget, I still talk about to this day, was the sperm whale. And he was diving up and he went down, and then we were like, oh, where is he? We couldn't find him. And so he was gone for at least like 5 minutes. But little did we know he was swimming towards our boat, and he just pops out of the water, and he's got this 10, 15-foot tail that just comes right out. I almost dropped my phone. I didn't get any footage. I wish I would have had that. I wish I knew he was coming, but it was incredible. So those are just some of the experiences that you're going to get to enjoy when you go to Alaska, amongst many other things as well.
Yeah, definitely a highlight of the trip. And then, of course, we have Cindy Botello with us. We were privileged to meet Cindy a few years ago during an educational opportunity with Princess.
Yep.
We were touring one of their ships, and we met during lunch. So we were able to sit down and have lunch together. And ever since then, we've had a great partnership. We've had a great relationship, and we came together and wanted to do this presentation for everyone tonight. And we felt that something you would enjoy and hopefully be informative if any of you are thinking about traveling to Alaska. So Cindy, I just want to turn it over to you.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Denise. Thank you, David. And so happy to hear that your Alaska experience was on the Princess Cruise, because I'm going to be poking in and questioning you guys in regards to sharing some of your stories throughout the presentation. And to everyone that's on this evening, thank you so much for joining. I greatly appreciate it. I can't begin to tell you, or where do I start. After 25 years with Princess Cruises, I think one of the most important things that I take to heart is the fact that travel is about experiences. It's about sharing with our loved ones these memorable moments that will be with us for a lifetime. And 25 years is a number of years with Princess, and I've had the privilege of having had the opportunity to travel to Alaska a number of times. And as blessed as I am to think about that, is the fact that I can still go back to Alaska again and again. And every single time I've gone back, and I'm anticipating going back again, there's always a different experience that I take away. I have a takeaway from. So just a quick overview. There's a picture of me and my daughters at the time. They were quite young. I think they were 12 and 14 at the time, and now they're in their full scale of teenage years. So if anybody's watching and they have teenage daughters, then I know that you can sympathize with me right now, because we're in that cusp of that teenage. And I think during the COVID year, I actually wanted to give them up for adoption. But anyway, at the end of the day, they're amazing. They are right now in those mid-teen years, and they have traveled with me. They tell the stories of what they've experienced. And like I said, just so fortunate that we've had an opportunity to be firsthand in Alaska. true and dear to us. There's no question about it. So why don't we kick off, Denise, David? Let's kick off with a start of this Alaska presentation and kick off by talking or taking a quick survey, right? I think we had that in mind to see who's with us this evening.
Yes, so I'm going to launch, should be on the screen right now, an attendance poll. We realize that maybe some of you are watching with your husband or your wife or friends or family. So you see some options on the screen. If you can just go ahead and click on how many are with you tonight. That way we kind of get an idea of how many are with us. And again, we thank you all so much for joining us. Also, during the presentation, you'll see a Q&A question pod at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, just feel free to type those into the question pod. And at the end of the presentation, we'll have some time to answer some of your questions. And if for some reason there's anything we're not quite sure of or we can't get to, we'll make sure that we get you the answers to those questions one way or another. So don't forget to put those questions in, and just give you a few more seconds to take that vote to answer how many are with you. We still have some responses coming in, so we don't want to miss any of you. But you're really going to enjoy the information tonight. Alaska is a beautiful place, and speaking from experience, it's one of my favorite places. So we hope you enjoy it, and I think most everybody has had a response. So we're going to go ahead and end the poll. We can close that out now. And Cindy, whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. Well, thanks. Thanks again, David. Thanks, Denise. And thanks again to everyone that's joined us this evening. We'll have a quick update and share with you some opportunities with Alaska and how amazing the destination is. And what I will want, and I certainly want to share with you, is that when I think of Princess and I think of how fortunate, again, as I mentioned, the many years that I've had with Princess and the many places that I've been to, Alaska is very dear to us and dear to our heart. As a destination, beyond its unbelievable natural beauty, it also is an infrastructure, a destination that it's dear to Princess because of the infrastructure that we have there. I will tell you that when we come back and we think about Alaska as a destination or any of the destinations that we go to, Alaska for us, really, when I kicked off 16 of my family and friends that traveled with us to Alaska, it was an opportunity for us to really get closer together. We traveled as that particular, for many of them, that was kind of the first time that many of them actually went on a cruise. It was the lasting memories. It really was about sharing our hearts, sharing our worlds, and truly creating connections no matter what. And many of us kind of laugh now when we think about, wow, you traveled to Alaska with 16 family and friends. Are you still talking to them? And I'm like, yeah, we're still talking. So much so that the reality was that 2 years later, we traveled to Europe together. And then our family and friends extended from 16 to 21. And I think that that's what it's all about. It's about loved ones. It's about the amazing destinations that you can experience together, the new people that you meet, and the obviously the discovery and the experiences of the adventures. And at the end of the day, what are we waiting for? I think you are all here to experience Alaska, and Denise and David are here to bring it to life for you. So let's start off with why people even think of Alaska. What are they going for? What's their top of mind? There are three pillars that people think about Alaska. It's glaciers. They're wanting to go see Glacier Bay National Park, or they're thinking of, College Fruit. They just want to see glaciers, right? They think of the mountains. How about Denali, Denali, Mount McKinley, and then they're thinking about the wildlife. So yeah, I don't know how many of us really want to get close and comfortable with a brown bear, but they're there. There's no question about it. But there's also different components regarding Alaska that are so top of mind to many people, and it really encompasses the beauty of Alaska. You've got Denali National Park. So if you are just doing a cruise, an inside passage cruise, you really don't go into the interior of Denali National Park. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Glacier Bay National Park, absolutely part of our Inside Passage voyage. I know David and Denise, you guys did that. We did it on ours. Then you're talking about the Inside Passage cruise, and I'll show you guys how that Inside Passage cruise, what it incorporates, and then bringing you on a voyage of the glaciers, which brings you further up into the interior of Alaska. And then there's the Alaska Rail Route. There's, of course, Alaska Seafood. There's so much more. So again, we kind of incorporate, when it comes to Princess, we incorporate all of these components as to why we do Alaska and the top reasons as to why people choose Princess for Alaska. And, you know, we think about our travel partners like David and Denise, who work so diligently and so hard to learn our products, to travel on our products so that they can share with you the experiences from firsthand. So they can give you the tidbits on how to best experience that destination, whether it's Alaska or any other destination that you may go to. And I think that that's where we as partners work really closely together. And I know Denise and David have their own experiences, and many of our experiences overlapped when I kind of took a look at some of their travel experiences. But travel partners like David and Denise have recognized Princess for 19 straight years. They vote Princess as the #1 cruise line in Alaska, recommended brand by our travel partners. And we thank them because I know that there's so many products and so many things that they can sell, and they are always looking out for your best interest, your #1 experience. And I think that this goes to show our partnership just continues to strengthen because of their knowledge of coming with us and watching out and making sure that your experience is the ultimate experience. And another reason, when you think about Princess in Alaska, for us, we've been sailing in Alaska for 50 years. So yeah, that's a long time to be there. And I'll tell you that it's the cultivated relationships that Princess has with the locals, and the fact that we've been working with them for all these years to bring the best of Alaska to you when you go visit. And I know that the last year, 2020, was a really difficult year for our Alaska partners. And I think that we kind of send out our love for them because they are so anxiously waiting for our guests to return in 21. And I know that we're going to be doing Inside Passage. We're going to be doing cruise only on July 25th. And I'll show you some examples and some of the voyages that we have. But I think the real component and the real message is the Alaska cruise tours. So literally for 2 years, we have not done the interior of Alaska. We have not done the Alaska cruise tour, bringing our passengers in to Denali National Park and to Fairbanks. So I will tell you that if you're thinking about Alaska cruise tours, now's the time to work very closely with David and Denise on securing your availability, your bookings for 22, because we've got 2 years that we haven't been there. So those who were anxiously planning on going in 2020 or 2021 are really thinking they're booking for 22. And I think I want to make sure that if you're considering 22, now's the time to talk to Denise and David about. And here's the other thing, and I'll show this throughout the presentation. You've got an exclusive cruise tour with some amazing value adds that only Denise and David can bring to you. So these are kind of the things when it looks at Princess, and we talk about being there for 50 years. This is our great land. We've got medallion class experience that is exclusive to Princess, and that is kind of what we call our technology on board our ships and how you're going to be integrated into the ultimate in regards to customer experience and how we work with you. Top rated cruises and cruise tours is because we have opportunities where you can do both. You can have an option to doing a cruise only, Inside Passage or Voyage of the Glaciers, or you can encompass all of Alaska by coming into the interior. The other thing, when you think about Princess and how we elevate that experience to you, our customers, is really by bringing those onboard programs and award-winning programs. And we've partnered up with Discovery Communications. So if you've already watched Discovery Channel and Animal Planet, that team curates some absolutely exclusive excursions that are by far absolutely amazing, because what they're doing is really encompassing all about the Alaska experience and bringing that as a exclusive excursion. So when you're talking to Denise and David, take a look at those highlights of some of these exclusive excursions that are being done. And you know, when you think about Alaska too, it is absolutely by far a multi-generational opportunity for a destination. Family, absolutely, when you think about it. Just as an example for us, we were 16, I think, and we were outnumbered by the number of kids that went on our particular trip. But we have ships that range, you know, from 700 guests, I mean, from the 3,000 passengers. We have Princess signature experiences that we love, you know, and that we bring forward. And when it comes to a variety of what we offer for Alaska, as we started off with, you know, you can do a 7-day inside passage cruise, a 7-day voyage of the glaciers, or you can do that land-based excursion, which is contingent on how long you wish to spend on land. You can do as short of a 3-line land program, or you can do up to a 7-day land program. So we've got all these things that will fit to your itinerary, your time, and for all ages as well. Now, when we think about Alaska, and I've kind of mentioned this a little bit, is there are several ways to go to Alaska. And we can start off with by seeing Alaska, round trip inside passage. So David, Denise, is that what you did? Was that what you guys did, the inside passage?
Yes, that's what we did. We did the round trip from Seattle. So that's where we started with the inside passage. So we have room for more trips.
There you go. There you go. So we kind of started you off on that inside passage. And I'll tell you that that is also probably the most convenient way. We had a family of 16, family and friends, that went up to Alaska. And I thought to kind of coordinate 16, you know, family and friends, Seattle was going to be our best choice. We did a round trip Seattle, and many of my family and friends that actually traveled with us in Alaska on that inside passage cruise had never even been to Seattle. So, you know, think about that too, that when you're planning your vacation travel to Alaska, there may be some pre or post opportunities that you want to take advantage of. So Seattle, for many of them, was a first time. It was also quite convenient for us. They were having an opportunity to see Alaska through the inside passage. But they're still yearning for more, because when I talk about another way of seeing Alaska is the one-way cruises, which are the voyage of the glaciers, an opportunity where our guests can either go northbound from Vancouver up to Whittier, or they're coming southbound from Whittier down to Vancouver. And then when we really take a look at Alaska cruise tours is when we're incorporating our 7-day cruise. And then you've got the rail portion that's bringing you into the interior, and that land portion where we own and operate these lodges, and they are exclusive to Princess. And what I really like to kind of shout out is the fact that, you know, you have this amazing experience on board the ship, right? And you have this caliber of Princess service. So the fact that we own and operate these lodges kind of is that continuity of the Princess, where you have that Princess representative, not just on the cruise portion, but also on the land. So it just gives you that overall comfort and experience throughout the whole program. But let me do a quick shout out for 21. I think many of us know the Princess and the industry, the cruise industry, has been on a global pause for about 14, 15 months. Way overdue to get us back into the waters. And I know that our senior management team, as well as the Alaska Tourism and our Alaska representatives, work really, really hard to get us going back to Alaska. And finally, we did get clearance to operate our 7-day inside passage cruise with Glacier Bay National Park. They are round trip departures. We have 10 Sunday departures starting July 25th through September 26th on a brand new Majestic Princess. It is a medallion class ship, and we'll talk a little bit more about medallion class later on. It is going to be calling on ports of call like Juneau, Skagway, and Ketchikan, which are key ports of call in Alaska. And most importantly, we are calling Glacier Bay. These particular voyages are 10 voyages. We do have quite a bit of, there is quite a bit of availability. We still have availability in the months of August and obviously through September. These were voyages that our first, kind of restart sailing. So if you are considering Alaska and you want to have an opportunity to leave this year, these are, again, round trip Seattle. Passports are not required on these particular voyages. Generally, you would see that we would require passports, but primarily because we are not touching base on a non-US port of call, we are not necessarily requiring passports. You do need U.S. citizenship documentation. But I just wanted to also mention that if you are thinking about this, and we want to make sure that you have some confidence if you're booking so close in, is that we have updated our Book with Confidence. So you can change your plans 30 days prior to your cruise, and you can receive your canceled fees in a future cruise credits for you to travel with us at a later date. So our goal is for you to cruise with confidence, making this cruise really flexible and worry-free. So this actually applies to any bookings that you made by September 30th. And you're sailing through 21. So we've, in addition to some of these 10 Alaska voyages that we announced, we did announce and open some other voyages from the Caribbean, Mexico, and all their fall departures. So I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up in regards to our Cruise with Confidence, and giving you that flexibility, giving you that worry-free. There's also a component that has been enhanced in this COVID protection program, which we receive a future cruise credit and you refunds of 30 days if you cancel prior to 30 days. So I just want to make sure that that is part of that component in that conversation. At the end of the day, all we really want to feel is being taken care of. There's nothing like having that little comfort of that little swag blanket, right? But I know Denise and David can definitely walk you through if you have an interest of going this summer to Alaska with us, and hopefully you can. Let's move into that Inside Passage. For next year, 2022, we've got Seattle, Vancouver, and San Francisco departures. I know that our Los Angeles departures is not currently in our itinerary lineup for 22, but the key for us that these are all convenient round trip travel glacier viewing experiences, Inside Passage, Southeast ports of call. And I'll show you a quick look at a map, because sometimes it's always great to kind of see by picture, where am I going? How am I doing this? So again, the round trip Inside Passage out of Seattle, having an opportunity to touch on Victoria. Inside Passage, you have Ketchikan, you have Juneau, you have Skagway, Glacier Bay. And I think without question, Glacier Bay to us is our jewel crown. It's a UNESCO National Park Rangers come on board. And they actually answer like some whatever questions you may have in regards to why is that glacier blue, things of that nature. I mean, they're there for you, and that is our goal. One of the tidbits, and it's really cool. Everybody thinks that I'm off the, like, what is she talking about? A tidbit of bringing sunscreen. I don't know if anybody's ever talked about that, but you should. And I know Denise is shaking her head. You should bring sunscreen. And I'll tell you why. You're in middle of Glacier Bay. You've got a beautiful sunny skies. You could be on a t-shirt. You've got the glare of that glacier, sunny skies. Bring your sunscreen. Bring binoculars and those polarized sunglasses. So just tidbits of an example of things that you should know. Here's a great picture. When you have 16 family and friend members traveling with you, to get them all in one place was not so difficult when it came to Glacier Bay. Everybody wanted to be out at Glacier Bay. We had absolutely gorgeous sunny skies. It wasn't cold at all. I think that we spent quite a bit of time just taking amazing pictures while we were there at Glacier Bay. I'll share with you my memorable moment, and I'm going to ask David and Denise to share theirs when it came to Glacier Bay. But my memorable moment for me, if you're looking at the screen, I have at the time my daughter, she's my youngest, she's 12 years old at the time. And it was hard to kind of keep these kids together because they were just so excited about just being together on the cruise. But she spent a great deal of time at the back of the ship just playing golf. She thought it was the coolest thing. Here she is on the back of the ship at Glacier Bay playing golf. And she hears the thunder of that glacier calving. And as she just stops and looks in awe, and I just happened to capture that moment, those are the memorable moments we kind of sit back and go, wow. And I think she tells a story herself. She actually goes, yeah, I was playing golf on the back of the ship. And she heard that. And then I think that that was the aha moment for all of us when she did that. So David, Denise, what was one of yours? Tell me, share one of your favorable Glacier Bay moments.
We actually went through Tracy Arm. We actually
Oh,
didn't go through Glacier Bay. Still a beautiful experience going through the glaciers and everything. And a similar experience to your daughter. We were out on our balcony and we did see the glacier and hear the glacier calving. We saw the wildlife, the seals out on the little bits of ice, just sunning themselves, and they didn't have a care in the world. And then the captain actually did something really cool. He stopped the ship and he did a full 360 just in place. So that way we could see, we didn't miss what was on the other side. And so we just got a gorgeous view of the entire area. And as we were going in, another princess ship was actually coming out. And so, you know, the horns were going back and forth and we were waving, they were waving. It was just a really beautiful experience. Of course, we had a champagne breakfast out on the balcony through the whole experience. So it was really awesome. And yeah,
absolutely.
screen.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Absolutely. So those are the things that we kind of talk about, and we just sit back and go and realize that, yeah, there'll be other opportunities, but, you know, whale watching, as David talked about in the beginning, those are just, you know, one of many experiences. So to me, I would say that's as many times as I've gone to Alaska and I've repeated, I've always come back again with someplace and something different and done something different. And I've always have an opportunity to do something more. And these glaciers are just spectacular and beautiful. I mean, you think about 11,000 feet in elevation, and, you know, some of these are over 500 years old. It's nature at its best. It's beautiful. So let's go into Voyage of the Glaciers, you know, because we did the Inside Passage, but now with Voyage of the Glaciers, what we do is really bring our passengers further north. We have 2 glacier viewings with Voyage of the Glaciers. So not only do you do Glacier National Park or Hubbard, you do Hubbard Glacier or College Fjord. And you still have many of the other ports, southeast ports. But here's another picture when you look at in a perspective on a map, is our goal with our Voyage of the Glaciers is really bringing that passenger further up into the interior, and they have an opportunity to do Hubbard Glacier and College Fjord. But here's our opportunity where we disembark our guests at Whittier, and then that's where they begin our land portion. Or some passengers prefer doing southbound, kind of doing that land first and then coming to Whittier and doing their cruise at the end and taking a nice, you know, leisure cruise towards the end of their vacation. So it kind of works both ways in regards to how we offer our programs. But I know your exclusive cruise tour is a southbound tour, primarily because that tends to be the most popular. People tend to do the land first and then the cruise. And you've got an exclusive cruise tour that we're going to talk about to your guests. But let me show them a little bit more about our North to Alaska. This actually won Princess Cruises a Golden Magellan Award, primarily because of the encompassing of what we do with Alaska. And we call it North to Alaska, kind of like that overarching experience. But it actually is one of the biggest differentiators and reasons for our guests to choose Princess. It's this award-winning North to Alaska program. And what we do is that we bring, you know, the aspects, the color, the culture, the flavors of the Great Land right on board our ships. We have, you know, kind of set standards to what Alaska cruising is all about. We bring the opportunity to bring true Alaskans on board to share their experiences of Alaska. You know, think about the lumberjacks. We have people that talk about dog sledding champions like Libby Riddle, say that 10 times. And the park rangers, bringing those park rangers on board, you know, and I think one of the other things that's also amazing is the seafood. I don't know about anybody else. When I go to Alaska, I truly, truly become a pescatarian, even though I follow pescatarian. But when I'm in Alaska, oh my gosh, when it comes to the salmon, when it comes to the crabs, the opportunity that we partner with local eateries like the iconic dishes from crab cakes that come from Tracy's Crab Shack, which is in Juneau. We have fish tacos that come from the Alaska Fish House in Ketchikan. Those are things that are locals. That's true Alaska experience, and the fact that we're able to create and have that ability to offer those to our guests is just, you know, catapults the experience overall. So I'm going to ask you guys, here's another question. What was your favorite food in Alaska? Do you have a favorite, David, please?
Um, I would say when we had Italian night,
There
and
you go.
I think it was,
Italian night in Alaska. Did you
yeah,
have,
the head
did you have,
waiter was cooking up a storm, and he was making just a homemade sauce, and it wasn't like something, like just out of this world incredible. It was just a simple sauce, and it was just so good. And homemade pasta. I mean, it was just a simple meal, but it was so delicious, and the whole room was smelling like Italian, which was incredible.
was that one of our Princess Specialty restaurants, or was that the dining
Oh,
room?
that was the
Yeah.
regular dining room, man.
Yeah, that was right in the main dining room. But for
Fabulous.
me, I love seafood. I love lobster. I love shrimp, crab, salmon. We had an incredible salmon bake on one of our excursions. But even in the dining room, I mean, we had all these things that you're mentioning, and it was just I love lobster. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
The waiter even gave me a nickname. Instead of calling me Miss Denise, it was Miss And, because I always ordered more than one thing. So it was always, what is And having tonight? And he had the trays stacked. You couldn't even see his face when he was walking with all the trays. But you're gonna eat good. You're gonna eat
Yes.
good. Yeah, you're gonna eat well. You're gonna enjoy it. So
that is for sure. That's one thing that you can certainly count on when it comes to cruising. You will eat very well. No question about that. Here's another thing in regards to bringing our locals on board, or doing shore excursions we kind of talk about the true Alaskan experience. We have the lumberjacks, and I'm not sure if this is actually one of our guests and why we would put an axe in their hand, but my daughters and our group actually went on one of the tours that we saw, the lumberjack demonstration. And at the time, I think it was my oldest, she must have been about 14, 15 years old. And she spent more time looking at the lumberjack's arm and how like physically muscly cut he was. And I'm like, that's not the point of the tour, but she was just eyeing his arms. But at the end of the day, it's really about that experience firsthand from people that are locals. And I think that when we talk about Libby Riddles, who made history, she was the first woman to win the 1,049-mile Iditarod sled dog race. I mean, that's huge. She was the first one to do this, because I tell you, when we went on those shore excursions that talked about dog sledding, and actually you guys that incorporated into your cruise tour, your exclusive cruise tour. So that's something that's a value add that you have. She actually was recognized as the Sportswoman of the Year by the Women's Sports Foundation. And she tells her stories. She actually comes on board in Juneau and has the opportunity to bring her puppies. And I mean, who doesn't like these beautiful puppies? And when we went on the shore excursion, it was great because you have two opportunities. You really can either do the shore excursion to see the actual camp as to where they actually train some of the dogs. They train the dogs. They actually save the puppies to the last, because people get so taken by the puppies that they're not paying attention to the stories that the lecturer is telling about. But here's another thing. I know that one of my other counterparts, they actually did a different shore excursion, which they actually took a helicopter and landed on the glacier, and there was the training dog camp on the glacier. So there's many opportunities to hear and see these amazing, beautiful puppies, and hear about all the stories of how they run these Iditarod races, and they're just absolutely gorgeous and so cute. But here's another one. When we talk about food, go back to food a second. Fishing in Alaska is awesome. Fishing in Alaska, one of the times I went was actually in Juneau. I had we stay in Juneau for a longer period of time. So I had two opportunities to do two shore excursions. And on the day, I started the day as a bike ride, and it was great because it was sunny skies. It was beautiful for Juneau. And then in the afternoon, I went fishing. Now, at the time that I did this, we didn't have this particular shore excursion. So that just kind of leads to the fact that I need to go back again. But on the fishing and the shore excursion is called Cook My Catch. So you catch something, and we will cook it for you and bring it and serve it to you at dinner. So I think this is so cool because it doesn't get any fresher than that. That's number one. You caught it. And if you don't like it, that's too bad because you caught it. You got to blame, you caught it, not us. But the reality is you get to catch and we get to cook it for you and serve it for you. So one of the highlights for us was that we didn't get to do this though, the time that there's so much else that we did. We didn't get to do this, but let me show you the next one, which was so cool. And this is kind of a quick summary of how many things that you can possibly do. When I say multi-generational, when I say there is quite a bit to do in Alaska, you can try to do as much as possible. And it is absolutely amazing. That dog sledding, there's my two daughters who wanted to take that little puppy with them. Can't do it. It's a little husky. Got to leave it with the dog. Got to leave him at the camp. Can't take him. They spent more time hugging and kissing these dogs. I was like, okay, time to go. But that was just amazing because we were actually hearing the story of how they trained them. Then, of course, we have a balcony stateroom, and I don't know how we could possibly get all of us in the balcony, but the adults decided that this was our turn, and we actually got a great picture in the balcony. My daughters were mesmerized by Glacier Bay. You can see them in the middle there on the lower part. They have their what we call the elf helmets on, and I saw a picture of David and Denise. You guys did the same thing. You guys went ziplining, right?
Yeah, we did. That was actually our first time ziplining ever. So what better way to zip line for the first time than in Alaska? And it was so much fun. We had a gorgeous day. The weather was nice and crisp and cool. The tour guides were amazing. They were so on top of safety, but making sure we had a good time. You never felt like you were unsafe in any way. Just a blast. It was a blast. I recommend it if you're into an adventure like that.
Yeah. And my youngest daughter, she was kind of afraid. She was probably the youngest in the group. She wasn't the youngest. She was the second youngest in the group. And I remember her being a little hesitant about it. But when you've got all 16 of us going, she was going to go for it. And I was really so thrilled to see how the tour guide was so diligent in regards to reviewing our harness and ensuring that each of one of us went out at the time that we needed to go out, and how they always had somebody over there, waiting for you to arrive. So the whole program was just amazing. It was just beautiful, the scenery as well. And let's not forget also panning for gold. As corny as it may sound, I mean, it was just a really great treat to kind of mix your pan for gold, get a little gold nuggets, and then you kind of go and make a necklace out of it or something. But the other thing, and there's a picture there with a group of girls that decided to kind of venture off a little bit and came across a beautiful waterfall. And that was one of the mornings that we actually did an Alaska Bake exclusively for our group. And so not only did we have that amazing lunch, Alaska Bake, but we also had an opportunity to kind of take a little detour and just come across this beautiful waterfall. So that was all Alaska Cruise Inside Passage, and all of those tours are available both on the cruise portion, and we also obviously extend tours on the land portion. I just want to spend some time on the cruise tour because this is what, for us, we actually bring this together for you. It's a 7-day voyage of the Glaciers cruise, which we talked about, and which incorporates 2 of our glacier viewings. There's also an opportunity where we do our train. And this is kind of like that trail, the train that will actually bring you into the interior of Alaska and what we call the heart of Alaska. And then exclusive to Princess is what we call the Denali, the wilderness, Director Wilderness program with Princess. That is exclusive to Princess because we own and operate that portion of it, getting you, our customers, right into the interior of Alaska that same afternoon. The other thing that is truly Princess, we'll actually spend a moment on the train portion, is that there are different components to the train, but the Direct to Wilderness for us is the opportunity where you as our guests are, if you're coming northbound, so you've got the 7-day voyage of the glaciers, you're disembarking in Whittier, we have the ship right there. that just get off the ship. We take care of all the luggage, puts it on the rail car, and that same afternoon, you are already at Denali Princess Lodge to start your late afternoon excursions if you have something. Your check-in process, we take care of all of that for you. I think one of the other kind of tidbits is that if you're on a southbound, meaning that you're doing the land first, and you're coming on and then you're doing the rail, we actually then have the opportunity that while you're on that rail excursion coming to the ship, we've done that check-in process for you. So you just get off the rail and you are right on that ship. And here's a great picture of it and how close that is from rail to ship, and so seamless. And of course, the opportunity of all of our open air glass dome rail cars are exclusive to Princess. And again, this is part of our Princess program altogether. Now, I absolutely differentiate Princess hands down. Again, I mentioned this before. We own and we operate these lodges. These are signature wilderness lodges, riverbank lodges that we have had and complete, and we own and operate, we manage, and the consistency of our product, the consistency of our Princess team on our land excursions. So I'm kind of going to give you a quick snapshot of each of our lodges. For example, as I mentioned, they're all riverside lodges. You can see they're truly nestled in what we call like the wilderness. So take a look, like for example, our Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge is really conveniently located just about a mile from the entrance of Denali National Park. And I think that is so cool. So you kind of be like that, that's the home base. You'll see a lot more activity in Denali National Park. You'll see that we have, it's kind of what we kind of situated where many of the excursions leave from Denali Princess Lodge. The other thing is that because you're at that entrance of Denali National Park, that is where we bring our passengers into Denali National Park to do those wilderness excursions, to do those tours of the park. So definitely see as many of those animals as you possibly can. The other thing is when we think about, you have opportunities from Denali Princess Lodge or any of the other lodges, you're looking at shore excursions that can include something like a flight seeing tour, river rafting, horseback riding, dog sledding. There's so much more other activities and shore excursions that are there. When it comes to Mount McKinley Princess Lodge, this one I call is more of the our wilderness lodge. It is got amazing, breathtaking views of Denali, and then there's got this amazing great room. So the great room is designated, or you can actually, it's built just facing Mount McKinley. It's got an expansive deck where passengers can go out. I'll talk about in regards to Copper River. You're right at the entrance or near what we call Orango St. Elias National Park. These are all overlooking some amazing views. When I look at Kenai, I think of Kenai because it's kind of Alaska's playground. That's what people think about it, playground. It was one of my first trips to Alaska. That's where I stayed at the Kenai Princess Lodge. That was where I did my river rafting. I thought they were so cool because they're kind of like little bungalows, and they all have kind of this fireplace in them. It's just amazing wilderness. And we can't forget Fairbanks, primarily because that's kind of like the interior of Alaska, a little deeper up. Many of the tours may begin or end in Fairbanks. And I'll show you a couple of other pictures in regards to Fairbanks, but here's Denali. And I think, like I mentioned, all of these are properties that are riverfront properties. You got Fanny Q Saloon. You got an area where passenger or guests can come on and go out and enjoy a cocktail in the evening. You got some of the rooms that are just simple but beautiful, well done wilderness rooms. This is again our largest property. It's got about 663 rooms here. And like I talked about, the hustle and bustle because of the lodges in the area. And it's about 1 mile from the national park. Now, the Denali National Park tours, we don't run these tours, but our cruise tour program includes these Denali national park tours. They are above and beyond. Sometimes they're charged above and beyond. There's an additional fee for them. It all depends on the length of the tour and how deep you want to go into the park. And I will tell you the beauty about your exclusive cruise tour, you're including a Tundra upgraded tour to your clients already on your tour that you've got. So that's already a value added opportunity that you have for your clients. And the key behind going into and deeper into the park is the big five. Like I mentioned before, I'm not sure if I'm really excited about coming across big brown bear, but if I can get my binoculars out, I'm okay with that, right? I think we all kind of want to see that big brown bear. Here's Mount McKinley, and many of us talk about this. This is a much more of a remote. It's about 45 minutes from Talkeetna. Again, I talked about the stunning views. There's a fireside patio. We've got treehouse. If anybody's seen a master treehouse, they actually built a treehouse for our Mount McKinley Princess Lodge. So if anybody's got, if the Mount McKinley Princess Lodge is on your land tour, take a peek at that treehouse. It's supposed to be absolutely amazing. They just built it a couple of years ago. Kenai, like I mentioned, this is one of my first lodges that I went to. It is one of our smaller lodges. You kind of find the Kenai in what we call off the beaten path cruise tours. And again, these are bungalow style, private deck. You got wood burning fireplaces and great for fishing. So again, I didn't go fishing on the Kenai tour. I actually went river rafting when I was in Kenai. So just a quick picture of one of the deck areas. Copper River, like I said, off the beaten path, something of also one of our smaller lodges, but it's right near Wrangell St. Elias National Park. So also a great place to go fishing. Love the pictures. Every time I kind of take a look at all the things that you can do when you're in Alaska, whether it's river rafting, and I'm not kidding, you can actually go snorkeling in Alaska. You talked about there was a time, I think there's a picture of you guys by a waterfall barefooted, and Denise, did you say it was really cold? Was it really cold?
Yes. So we were actually on an excursion to the Mendenhall Glacier, and we were kind of exploring on our own. We had some free time. And the tour operator told us about this waterfall that was so far away. I forget exactly how long it took to get there, but he said, but I'm going to warn you, you're going to have to take your shoes off to get there. So we started making our way over there, and he was right. We had to walk through quite a bit of Alaska ice cold water to get to that waterfall. But I tell you what, I wouldn't change it. It was one of the funnest memories that we have. It was so much fun. But yeah. That was one of the highlights.
I bet that was one of the highlights. And it was funny that you were talking about how cold the water is. And one of my counterparts in one of our Alaska trips, she actually shared some pictures, and they all are wearing these really deep, dark wetsuits and snorkel gear. And I'm like, you guys actually went snorkeling? And they're like, yeah, who figures could go snorkeling in Alaska? But she told us a story that the actual wetsuit had layers in it. And when the water slipped into the wetsuit, she was like, oh my gosh, there's water coming into the wetsuit. Well, it was the fact that it was supposed to be that way because the heat of your body was warming up that water in between that wetsuit. So she's like, we weren't cold at all. The heat from our body actually warmed up it was just amazing. So it's like, okay, so you can actually go snorkeling in Alaska. So anybody didn't know that. So let's not forget Alaska, Fairbanks, one of our top lodges. This is where I actually did my panning for gold. That stern wheeler riverboat is included in our land programs when one of our tours on that. And I did the Alaska pipeline too. So again, every time I've had an opportunity to go to Alaska, there's always something different that you can do and experience and see. And I kind of like to look at this particular map just because it really showcases how integrated and how robust Princess infrastructure is in Alaska, how proud we are in regards to all of the lodges that we offer and the opportunity and experiences that we can offer your clients to experiencing firsthand Alaska. So getting to what's exclusive to you guys, something that David and Denise can offer you is by far one of the greatest value cruise tours, and it's exclusive. It's not something that you can pick from our brochure. It's something that Denise and David could exclusively offer you. It has a $536 value. It's an 11-night Alaska cruise tour. So you're going to do 7 nights on a 7-day cruise, and it's a southbound. So you're going to do the land first. It's on board the Grand Princess, and we have available from May through September of 22. So Denise and David can actually walk you through any particular dates that you may be interested in. But I'd like you to point out, I really want you to see, you're going to have an opportunity to stay 1 night at our McKinley Princess Lodge. You got 2 nights at Denali Princess Lodge. You got 1 night in Anchorage. And the exclusive amenities is bringing you into the Denali National Park, deeper into the park with the Tundra Wilderness Tour, because that's an upgrade. So that's a value proposition that's already included for you. Dinner at the Fanny Q Saloon that I actually had a picture of. 2 breakfasts at our Denali Princess Lodge. 1 breakfast at the Norfolk at the McKinley. And not to mention, but I can't forget, is of course we've added the Husky Homestead Excursion sled dog tour. I think that's awesome. The fact that you're able to, for 2.5 hours, you're going to meet the puppies, hear the behind the stories about how they're doing the racing, the sleds, you know, the behind the scenes. And, you know, at the end of the day, the kids cannot take the dogs with or puppies with them on the ship and bring them back home. But boy, they get an opportunity to kind of hug them and kiss them as my daughters did, and take lots of memorable pictures. So that is part of your exclusive cruise tour that Denise and David can offer to you. Here's another tidbit. Best time to go. Sometimes a lot of questions they ask goes up, what's the best time to go? Is it, you know, when's it raining? When is it not raining? I think this is a great guide. Denise and David can actually share this with you guys to give you an idea. You know, David talked about the whales, right? You talked about your whales. You saw them in September. I think I've gone on a tour and I saw them in May. You can see that we have a star that they're really, you know, they have a lot of movement in July, but the reality is they're available. You can actually see them and most of all the time, whether it's May or September. But I would do the same thing David did. David, you talked about, you had a smaller shore excursion that went out, right?
Yeah, it was I think it was maybe a 50-foot boat that was chartered, and it was probably like maybe 50 people, 25 to 50.
Yep. And I would strongly recommend it, because I know that there are opportunities that we actually can see some of the whales right from our ships, but there's nothing like up close and personal on those shore excursions when you're going out on a smaller boat to go see. And the tour guides that actually take our guests out, they kind of know what's going on, where the movements are. So again, family friendly, June, July, and August. And if you're actually looking for something a little bit more financially and economically feasible, May and September are what we consider the shoulder seasons. So there you'll see that there's a little bit more of a price advantage on those departures. And then the other thing that's kind of infamous for Alaska, or people talk about it in Alaska, is the Alaska Northern Lights. I don't know. I've been to Alaska a number of times. I've never had the blessing of actually seeing the Alaska Northern Lights. And there's really no guarantee of seeing the Northern Lights. I know that September, people talk a lot about it, that generally when you're coming into the September timeframe, you may be able to have an opportunity to see Northern Lights. But I'll share a quick story. There was one of our captains aboard the Star Princess, and this was actually May of 2019. Who was leaving Ketchikan, and I think he said it was somewhere around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and he realized he saw the Northern Lights, and he literally just got online and just called, or just, you know, made an announcement to all guests. Obviously made it, you know, in a way that it wasn't alarming, but did say, if you want to have an opportunity to see the Northern Lights, I strongly recommend. I'm going to wake you up, but I'm going to wake you up. Don't get upset, because you're going to absolutely be amazed of what it is to see. And I think that those are the memorable experiences that our crew, our team, and all the people in Alaska welcome our guests to share. Because how amazing is that you have, you know, you're woken up by the captain and say, hey, come out and see the Northern Lights. So I'm going into Medallion. I know that I want to be also mindful of everyone's time, and especially if you have some questions, we want to be able to answer some of your questions. I want to kind of also share with you what Medallion class means to Princess, and this is kind of a game changer when it comes to taking technology, and it's not about the technology, it is about the overall experience and elevating the customer experience to being truly customized to you, and facilitating things and making it easy so that your overall cruise experience is seamless. And what I mean by that is, think about these little small components kind of overarching as, you know, finding a shipmate. So the Medallion opportunity, the Medallion class ships, there's an app, and obviously there are portals within the ship that you can find your shipmates. So I actually absolutely love this, hands down. I traveled, when I talked about my 16 family and friends that went from Alaska, 2 years later, there were 21 of us that went on the Crown Princess to Europe. Finding our shipmates was so cool because we could, again, either use it on our mobile device, or we can actually go into one of the portals within the ship. You kind of log in and you want to kind of see where I want to see where my daughter is. It will actually show me where she was. She would either be in the jacuzzi or she would be at the basketball court. But those is kind of that technology that just it just creates this experience and overall customer service experience. I think another one of the best parts of the Medallion class is that I could be sitting by the poolside, and the waiter, I could order my drink. I usually my cosmopolitan or my margarita, depending on the time of day, and they will come and find me and they will bring me my drink. And I think that in this world today, where things are going to be more of a customer service unique to you, we will find you, we will bring you your drink. We will find you if you want to have your pizza at the pool deck, we will find you and bring you your pizza. So those are the things that you're going to see that incorporate Medallion class and really creating that overall experience and customer experience. Dine My Way is also part of Medallion class, is really giving you the opportunity to identify when you want to dine, with who you want to dine, at what time you want to dine. It gives you the ultimate flexibility on the journey for your dining experience. And then just kind of putting it all in perspective here and just kind of putting it all together, those exclusive cruise tours that Denise and David have for you have like value-added amenities of over $500. And that is above and beyond what we would standardly offer, right? So those are an exclusive cruise tour that we created for David, Denise. And on top of that, the pricing strategy is Princess Plus. And that Princess Plus also incorporates your beverage package, your all-inclusive beverage package. It includes the all-inclusive unlimited Wi-Fi, and we have Medallion Net on board the ship, which is one of our fastest, high-speed internets. And then it also includes the daily crew incentive, which is another way of saying gratuities. So all of that is layered on top of the additional $536 of value add that you already have. And if anyone that's currently military, we've got an ongoing military benefit. It does not expire. Denise and David can work with you on obtaining the information that you need to provide Princess. Once it's stored within your passenger Captain Circle profile, it's there so that the next time you book on your second or third cruise with Denise and David, they can just remind you, your military benefit offer is already there. So you've got X number of onboard credit. You can get up to $250 onboard credit. It all depends on the length of the cruise and the type of category that you book. But Denise and David have all of these programs at their fingertips to really walk you through an ultimate experience, making sure also the value adds and bringing Alaska real to life for you and an opportunity for you to sail with us. So I think I've talked a lot, right? I'm so excited. It's all about Alaska. But you know what, Denise, why don't we have some opportunities to answer some of the questions from your guest?
Okay, thank you so much, Cindy. Appreciate all the information. I know a lot of work for you to put that together, so we really appreciate your time and effort with that. As far as questions, we do have a few questions. First question we have, someone wants to know, do you have rooms and itineraries for single travelers? She'd love to go, or they'd love to go, but it's just going to be them. So do you have Do you have that available for solo travelers?
So what we do for singles is that we do offer the single traveler, the single rate, or what we call double occupancy rate. So it's not a discounted single rate. It is what we consider a single fare. But I think it is what we call a double occupancy fare. So it's not necessarily, nor do we have just segments that are single occupancy.
The good news is you can travel solo, so that
Yes,
will be an
absolutely
option if you choose that you want to do that. Okay.
Correct. And going back to Dine My Way, there's always that opportunity where our guests that are traveling solo, that we can incorporate them and actually make reservations with them or have them dine with others, which is the key behind cruising, is an opportunity to meet other people. So we will be able to, obviously a single person can dine with other people in a larger table if that's that, and we can do that. We can accommodate that.
Perfect. Thank you. And then we have a question from Maria. She says they have a small dog and she wants to know if she can bring the dog.
And service dogs. We do have a criteria that does, and a department that actually provides a great deal of information, Denise, that you can work with all the requirements that will be necessary as a service dog. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And we have a question from Bonnie Bright. She wants to know, do any of your land tours include Homer?
I'm sorry?
Homer?
Homer? No, they don't.
Okay. And then we had one other question regarding vaccines. The person wanted to know if you're requiring everyone to be vaccinated to be able to travel.
So the first 10 sailings, I think that we've talked about in 2021, which start on the Majestic Princess, the Inside Passage sailings, which run from July 25th through September 26th, are fully vaccinated cruises. And yes, we are requiring vaccination, proof of vaccination. There is a risk or assessment that our guests will need to obviously sign off on. And then at the pier, at the port of embarkation, once you also certify and provide proof of U.S. citizenship, we also will require, and you must have with you, your proof of vaccination. Those are the requirements right now in order for us to follow the CDC guidance, in order for us to sail, and they are designated fully vaccinated cruises.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't see any other questions in here. I think you did a great job covering pretty much everything, so thank you. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for attending tonight. We hope that you enjoyed the presentation. We hope that you found it informative. But we hope we'll be able to get you to Alaska one of these days. So make sure you took a screenshot of that slide with our contact information, and you'll also be receiving a follow-up email as well. So if you want to go ahead and take that screenshot, but you'll get an email from me with the link for a copy of this presentation in case there's anything you missed or you want to see it again or share it with a family or friend. So just look out for that email the next couple of days. But with that, thank you again so much. We hope that you all enjoy the rest of your evening. And what we're going to do is we're just going to close out by playing the video that we played at the beginning in case any of you missed it. Thank you again. We hope you'll join us for another event in the future, and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, David. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.